please.
What would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for President. It's, for him, no, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I know the answer. It will be.
Our President will respond to you.
Yeah, let me,
Thank you, Mr. President.
it will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, no, wait.
So right at the very beginning, there was a very important question there. And Mr. Trump was being asked what it would take to convince him that there is no white genocide in South Africa. What it would take for him to believe that there is, not to believe, but actually to understand that there is no white genocide in South Africa. Well, this question is easy to answer, but complex at the same time, because it depends on who the recipient of the question is. If you are a white supremacist like Mr. Trump, then it's going to be really hard to convince you otherwise. But if you are a sober-minded, objective person, then it would not take so much effort to convince you with evidence that there is no white genocide in South Africa. Now, who better to serve as evidence for this question if not for white South African or other Afrikaners debunking this conspiracy theory being fanned by Donald Trump and his friends? I want us to listen in to some of the views of some white South African or Afrikaners, and we'll be back right at the end.
Trump is crazy. He is saying all this stuff about white South African farmers getting killed.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what he did?
I have seen that.
He showed pictures of random white people that are also not from South Africa.
I think there are definitely certain areas within South Africa that they are more a target. But in overall South Africa, I really don't think that we are the target at all.
Another Nordic resident acknowledged the presence of crime in the country, but denied it was racially motivated.
I think there's crime amongst all the people. So, of course, like, you get the more underprivileged people, and in those areas where there's not so much money, there's more crime. But amongst the black people, there's still crime, also with the whites.
For residents of Nordic, the image painted by Trump is not only inaccurate but potentially harmful for the country's ongoing efforts towards social cohesion and reconciliation.
Is there a white genocide in South Africa?
No, there's no sign of it, never has been. In fact, whites are economically the strongest group. They benefited from democracy more than anybody else. 64% of all boardrooms in South Africa are still white. The average income of white South Africans are vastly higher than black South Africans. No, they have better schools, they have better education, they have private health care. This is the land of milk and honey if you're white.
Has any land been expropriated in South Africa without compensation since the first all-race election in this country?
I'm not aware of anyone. Not a single farm that I'm aware of was expropriated without compensation since 1994.
So how do we interpret President Trump's executive order?
It is possible that South Africa has offended the United States with his policy on the Palestinians, and it could be that with his policy on Russia, the ambiguities of those policies and its relationship with the Chinese. It could be. I think that does play a role. But there was something very, very sensitive that was touched upon. And in South Africa, right-wing groups, so-called civil society groups, we know that they have access to the Trump administration because they claim that. And if you listen to what Trump has said, it corresponds exactly with the genocide narrative that they sell and that they market, and that whites are victims of the democratic system and the constitution of South African legislation. So there's an overlay, there's an immediate overlay, there's an unquestionable overlay between what Trump says and these right-wing groups have said. So I'm afraid I have to believe them when they say they have direct access to the Trump administration, and we see it in what Trump has been doing.
All they do in right-wing media is there is a genocide, white people are being slaughtered left and right, and so even some good people listening to that think, oh, that's what happened. If you thought that's what happened, you'd be worried too. Like, oh my God, I don't want all those white farmers slaughtered, and they took all their land. Oh my God, I'm worried about that, right? But none of that actually happened. That's why Trump said, no, I don't want reporting on this. And that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's actually an absolute perversion and the reversal of reality. The way Trump is describing the situation for Afrikaners in South Africa. Let me just tell you, concisely. South Africa is a multiracial democracy, and it's linguistic. Many people you meet there, especially people of African descent or tribal descent, speak 5 or 6 languages. The Afrikaners who literally invented the word and the system apartheid. It's a word that's derived from Afrikaans, which is derived from Dutch, okay? It was a complex system that basically meant how you were born would influence not only your entire life, but how you died and what you would be at death, and generations upon generations moving forward. Note that actually South Africa is one of the few countries that not only has learned many of its lessons, but actually remarkably did not, when Mandela came back to power, things did not result in a massive civil war and the mass murder of these Afrikaans people. Why is that? Because Mandela was a heroic figure who introduced the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as a way to basically let off the steam and try to find peace. So the people who perpetrated these brutal crimes for decades upon decades, now 150 plus years, didn't actually pay the price for their crimes because Mandela was so saintly. Okay, and then note that South Africa was the country that introduced genocidal kinds of inquiry to the International Court of Justice. Why is that related to Israel and Gaza? Why is that? Because they knew firsthand what happened in their own country, because Israel is an apartheid state. And they saw the same thing happening, and they were trying to do everything they can so that other parts of the world wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. So South Africa, for me, is a very heroic country, and these people represented the worst of the worst. And actually, for someone who claims to be against DEI, he's pretty specially for DEI for a couple racist farmers.
Yeah. Last quick thing for me is another powerful analogy in there, because the Afrikaners would say about the actual black Africans in the country and the ANC, oh, they're terrorists because they had attacked using physical force before. So they said, well, since they were terrorists, you can't ever trust them. They will never do peace. They'll kill all of us. But they didn't. They did the exact opposite. Like Ramesh said, Mandela was saintly and made sure that no white people got hurt in South Africa afterwards. So now when you hear Israel saying, oh no, the Palestinians are terrorists, and yeah, we're slaughtering all of them, but my God, if we gave them peace and dignity and freedom, they would of course slaughter us because they're savage Muslims. That sounds awfully similar to what the Afrikaners were saying.
Yeah, the one country Israel can learn from their own experiences, Israel and the Palestinians and so on, is South Africa. To see what actually a positive outcome could look like coming out of such horrific hell.
We do not have a genocide in South Africa.
This South African farmer wants to set the record straight. He wrote an open letter to US President Donald Trump after Trump offered Afrikaner farmers refugee status.
But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white.
The first group of 59 Afrikaners traveled to the US in early May. It has raised questions about why a group of white South Africans of Dutch and French descent are being granted refugee status when the Trump administration has stopped all other refugee programs. De Jager represents a large farmer organization which has members across South Africa. He says while it's true that farm murders are a major problem, Trump hasn't got the facts straight.
I wrote the letter to Trump because I feared that he might have a misunderstanding of what is going on here. We thanked him for having sympathy with our cause, but we also said, rather help us to make things better here. Help us to, within our lifetime, fix the problems we have here. And it's not only a race thing. Black farmers have similar problems too, and we need those problems also to be attended to.
Trump's genocide claims are a result of brutal attacks on farmers in South Africa. Most of the murders happened during armed robberies. There's a large memorial at Nampo, South Africa's largest farming expo, dedicated to farm murders. It contains around 2,800 names, going as far back as the 1970s. One thing that stands out about this event is the diversity. We've seen many Afrikaners, but we've also seen many black people in attendance. This memorial includes the names of black farmers who were victims of farm murders, debunking the idea that it's a crime that only affects white people. And those we spoke to say while they are concerned about farm murders, they don't want to leave South Africa.
If people want to do it, I think it's a good idea. It gives them an option out if they want. But I personally would not do it. This is my country. And that is something that Mandela fought for, is for freedom for all.
I cannot really say there's a genocide in South Africa. The only thing that is happening is it's a crime in general. You know, in every country, in every places, we do have crimes, irrespective of race, you know. So I think the genocide issue is exaggeration.
I did think President Ramaphosa represented the country well. I thought the delegation, especially that he took over with him, was very strategic, and I thought everyone in that delegation put their best foot forward for our country.
Gifts, another Johannesburg resident, said that while Trump's comment lacked depth and historic context, Ramaphosa's response was commendable.
Even though I feel like he didn't give enough information about the white genocide in South Africa. So I think but he handled the situation very well, and I think he should have told him that we have a very ugly history, and songs like "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer" are just struggle songs, struggle chants, and it's not like people are gonna go out and kill anyone. They're in the farm.
Ramaphosa meanwhile used the opportunity in Washington to stress that while South Africa continues to grapple with its complex history of racial inequality, the narrative of white genocide is not only false but dangerous.
To the 50 Afrikaners who fled to the US, calling themselves refugees, you are not refugees. You are just a case study of white flight dressed up as martyrdom. You're not escaping violence, you're escaping equality. South Africa didn't chase you away. You ran. Yes, South Africa is one of the most violent countries in the world. Yes, brutality exists. But let's be honest, violence affects all communities, not just white farmers. Black, colored, Indian, and yes, white people are all targets of a national crime crisis. What we have is a breakdown in safety, not a white genocide. This is not ethnic cleansing, it's criminal collapse, and running to the US won't fix it. You are part of a 7% minority, but somehow still manages to control over 70% of the wealth. That is not persecution, that's privilege on a guilt trip. And let's be real, if we tried to relocate just half of the Afrikaans population, it would take decades, billions in logistics, and you'd still end up culturally homeless in a country that don't want your apartheid baggage. You're not brave, you're not victims. You're scared of a world where you don't get to be in charge, and that makes the rest of the Afrikaans community cringe, because you make us look weak. South Africa is broken, and it's our problem to solve. So if you don't have the spine to do so, stay gone.
And here's South Africa's police minister saying that Trump's genocide claim is dangerous and twisted. Here, play this clip.
But we have no respect for his genocide story whatsoever. It is totally unfounded and totally unsubstantiated.
For months, Trump and his close aide Elon Musk have falsely claimed that an Afrikaner genocide was taking place in the country.
The incident sparked a very strong protest by the farming community in the area. The crosses symbolized killings on farms over years. They are not graves. They don't represent graves. And it was unfortunate that those facts got twisted to fit a false narrative about crime in South Africa.
I really would like us to talk about it.
The genocide accusation has even been laughed at by white South Africans, its supposed victims.
Okay, so the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, tried to to tell Donald Trump the truth and to try and convince him or just share the truth with him. But he should have known that Donald Trump is not after the truth. He is after white supremacy. And that is where he deviates from the truth. So he does not care about the truth. He cares about white supremacy. Nothing would convince him that the story is otherwise. He knows the story, but he is fanning flames of division. He is fanning flames of white supremacy, the white supremacy lies, and those white supremacy conspiracy theories for his personal benefit, and to try and destabilize the country of South Africa. So right there, you have had a few texts by white South Africans or Afrikaners claiming that there is no white genocide in their country. Donald Trump doesn't know more than the people that live in the continent of Africa, and more so people that live in South Africa, and more so people that are claimed to be the victims of the white genocide. In fact, he was giving out false evidence in pictures and in videos to try and back up his false conspiracy theory. This is not only dangerous, but so unfair to Africa and South Africa as a nation. And it's good that all the people, regardless of whether you are the victims or third parties in such scenarios of dangerous utter misinformation, come out to call out the truth and to dismiss this kind of lies. We know that there is a hidden agenda, which I explored in a previous video, to why Donald Trump is doing this. I did about 2 videos on the same, and he's also just using those white South Africans as pawns, as as sacrificial lambs in a major a global political game in which the United States of America are actually bound to lose in this game because of their reckless, unthoughtful moves. Such a move like this one of misinformation in a world like we live in today, where people can easily find out the truth against the wishes of the liar, such could put you in a very bad position. And that is exactly the position that this actually puts America in with the leadership of Mr. Donald Trump. Yeah, so that is exactly what I had for you in this video. Please share what you think, your thoughts, your opinions about this right in the comments. Like and share this video, and please support this channel There are many ways you can do that, but the easiest and free way to do that is to go ahead and subscribe to become a part of this community. You can also send us a super thanks and join our membership if you can and if you'd like. So until next time, I would be happy to see you in my next video. Peace out.